People are in and the polls have spoken. So let's talk about Metroid. Metroid is a series that had its first release in 1986 with a self-titled introduction. Now, after I read the manual, I just had to get on my moon boots, and I really wasn't even born at that time. But I just had to get on my moon boots to just explore the planet Zebs with Samus Aran, Samus Arian, Samus Aran, Samus.
The original Metroid was revolutionary in concerning atmosphere in games, as well as being one of the best examples for sans-narration guidance in a game.
But we're not talking about the original Metroid.
There's no map for starters, it's unforgivably hard, and Samus moves, well, like an asshole.
But wait, there's more!
Metroid fucking Zero Mission. Now, Zero Mission was a remake of the original Metroid game just mentioned, or as I like to think of it, it's the day Nintendo sat down and said,
"Hey guys, you remember the original Metroid, right? Well, it's aged like year-old beer that's been opened in the desert. Why don't we give that piece of sashimi a facelift?"
To which Yoshio Sakamoto replied, "Sorry, what? I couldn't hear you over all the cash we're raking in from the release of Metroid Prime." So they made it and it was really good.
Like, really, really good, but it's the same game generally, right? Uses the same exploitation of adventure and uses memory for progression. But that's where the similarities end.
You see, the original Metroid was viscous, to say the least.
Oh my god, I've been stuck for hours.
Meaning at a thick, sticky consistency, somewhere between a solid and a liquid, i.e. it wasn't very fluid.
There's a lot of times you need to stop and think about where you're going and where you've been.
Nobody wants to say,
Where the fuck do I go?
in a video game. They want to ask,
How do I get there?
I know the first time I played the game, I made out a map just so I could keep track of where I was. And still I'd die, and die, and I'd die, you piece of shit! It was frustrating, but at the same time, it was adventurous. I'd even say it compete pretty heavily with the original Zelda on the surface that it really fuels that want to progress. And that's why people played it, and it became a success. Or maybe it was one of those games that just didn't suck.
But like I said, aged like milk.
Zero Mission improves on all of that, all while keeping the game new, almost like an entirely different experience. Think Mario 1 and 2. If you play the second one after the first, you'd probably think, this is all new and strange, but I'm comfortable with it because it comes from a familiar place.
Well, you probably don't actually think that, because that'd be fucking weird. But the internal fictional monologue really does summarize Zero Mission well.
Immediately when you start, you see your ship land on the surface, but you don't start there. You start in that same original room, but everything is updated. Samus has new speed and just general flow that even surpasses Super Metroid. And when a game relies so heavily on trial and error, you kinda need that flow. It complements the teaching. From the first room, you can go right or left, and either way, you'll get the same lesson. Go right and you'll soon see that Samus has no way to squeeze into tight spaces to progress.
How am I even supposed to get through there?
If you backtrack and go left, then you can get the morph ball and now you can progress. And if you went left in the first place, and whatever, problem avoided.
But either direction you take, you'll learn the mainstay, the meat and potatoes of Metroid. Forward progression will be impeded not by skill, but by obstacles that can be overcome by weapons and upgrades. This is probably one of the strongest points in the Metroid franchise. Its sense of progression is so on point. It even surpasses huge titles which rely on identifiable progression within the level, like Skyrim, Zelda, and Resident Evil. In all of these examples, you usually need an item to progress. Less this in Skyrim, but more this in Zelda and Resident Evil. Usually you'll either find A, the thing you're looking for and have the door very close by, or B, the door, gate, or whatever passable thing and you need to find a way past it. This is usually done with an item. See, the beauty of Metroid is that it doesn't play by these supply-demand rules in such a black and white way. Usually the door you'll have to go through is in some obscure level, and it will tempt you. You'll check it out, morph ball spasm all around it, fire explosives like you're the grandson of Robert J. Oppenheimer, but it will all be in vain. The door will stay shut and you'll just have to pass it by. Until 30 minutes to an hour later, when you're on a completely different errand, you find an item that works with the door. Then you'll go back because opening doors is awesome.
Holy shit. Holy shit!
Like, look here in this lava room. I can't go into it yet, but hey, I might be able to later on.
It's like at Christmas if you had parents where at the very end of all your gifts you get this small box and inside of it you'd have Mario 64, but then you'd be thinking to yourself like, Mom and Dad, I don't have a Nintendo 64, and then you realize they got you a Nintendo 64. It's something like that.
Flat out giving you the item you need right next to the door doesn't really fuel adventure, it kinda kills it. Imagine how lackluster Back to the Future would be if Doc Brown was like, Marty, I think my neighbor also builds time machine cars. I'll get you one of those and we can just end the shit.
Well, Doc, that might just be the heaviest thing yet. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. But I really do love when the next destination is so veiled. It's definably Metroid!
But wait, this game tells you where to go. That's contradictory of what you said, Samuel. This is weird, why am I? And it is, but Metroid is about the journey, not the destination. Sure, the game will say, hey, go here.
Is this place Zebes? What? I don't get it.
But getting there is the fun part, and will usually be interrupted by some crazy boss battle or some kind of puzzle or, hell, just a dead end. But you know damn well where you want to be, it's just how to get there that you're trying to figure out. And this is done with a much less obvious approach as stated above. Instead of just seeing the problem and solution, you see a kaleidoscope of possibilities. And I think this really personalizes Metroid to the player. Problems can be approached in different ways, although solved each in the same way. Some puzzles are pure logic, and others require some thinking outside the box. What might have been a tough challenge in room A could have been a cakewalk to someone having trouble in room C.
And unlike the original Metroid, it's hard to get lost in the rich world of Zebes. I mean, mentally, you can be lost. It's fucking beautiful.
The addition of the map, although not revolutionary, was pretty awesome to see and did make things much easier. This is because Metroid is not the type of game which wants you to be literally lost in its depths. You see, a game has always got a special thing going for it when you know exactly where you are. Look at a map, say, there I am. But you're also completely fucking lost on where you want to go. Metroid does that well. You can know your every surrounding, the whole of it, all of it, and you still have no idea how to progress. Whereas at the same time, if you keep trying new things, new passageways, new ways around obstacles, you'll get through them. Zero Mission isn't impossible. It just holds you up once in a while. This isn't a bad thing, of course. There needs to be some difficulty to what you're doing. And Zero Mission shifts the difficulty to something solvable. In the original Metroid, there were no save stations, so you didn't regain health when you saved because you couldn't. That made things very difficult at the beginning and very hard parts because of all the shit you had to deal with. I mean, look at Mother Brain's throne room. Why? What? Who? Who thought of this? I have a lava suit. Why does this hurt me? Is this lava? Is this con queso? Is it something else? I don't fucking get it anymore.
This complemented the game in a major way. Why make things brain-crunchingly hard when you also have to worry about everything trying to kill you?
The puzzles in the original were very much still there, but they were much less traditional and, in my opinion, more solvable. In Zero Mission, it's much easier to stay alive, so now we can focus on shit like puzzles. And Grandma, she's just thrilled. Look at it. She is bored as shit from Sudoku, and she's getting out the Thanksgiving blade for some 5-finger fillet. And when the paramedics come, they'll say, we cannot find your grandmother's thumb, to which I will say, I'm sorry, officer. I think the cat got it. That cat's a dickhead. Now, I just want to put this in here. I haven't even talked about how the game looks. To me, space games are easy to make beautiful worlds for because they don't exist, so you don't have to base it off of anything real. So will I give roaring applause for some outlandishly, brightly colored flowers?
Of course! There's no beer in here.
But Metroid didn't stop there. It's more so the shades of colors they went with and the sparing use of darker colors. Samus is a bright medley of neon.
Oh, wow. I am not camouflaged at all.
whereas the foreground is also very bright, but less though than Samus, and usually comprises of shades of blue in the beginning of the game and then switches to red after your eyes have really adapted to the use of Samus as your avatar. And one fantastic thing for me about Zero Mission is that outlines aren't used, and when they are, it's not a simple black or a gray. Canisters can be outlined in a dark red, and the depths of a pit will rather be a darker shade of another color rather than simply darkness. I mean, this is purely a subjective thing. I just prefer colors rather than a flat outline, but I can't really fault Zero Mission on giving me a more interesting palette, all while staying away from your more neutral colors.
This playstyle and all the great things that derive from gameplay and mechanics are what I think define Metroid. There's stigmas that have been in place since the original and have just been facelifted to make them all the more accessible. Keeping the flow of adventure going with subtle progression and an environmental narrative are what define Metroid for me. And Zero Mission hits the nail on the head. This has been the good, the fun, and the ugly. May your thumbs stay blistered and your games play like new. Thank you very much for watching.
You're recording, dude.
I know. Just don't. It's okay. Don't stop hitting it. You're gonna make the light go off. Metroid is a series that had its first release in 1986 with a self-titled introduction. Now, after the first time reading the manual, you just had to want to be put on your moon boots and then set out on Zeb. Fuck me! Metroid is a series that— what the fuck was this?
I don't know.
Metroid is a series that had its first release in 1986 with a self-titled introduction. Now, after the fucking— why? It's just going.
Yeah, I guess so. Because sirens are cool.
No.
The mean people are dying. There was a fire in the Davis Center today.
I know.
It was fun.
Me and John saw it, and we just went, alright, let's go to the library where there's much more paper. Fly.
I started.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know, sorry. And go. Well, Doc, this might just be the heaviest thing yet. Are you kidding me? A light went off.